Let's see. Okay, it looks like it's streaming, so we should be good to go. So this is game number 5 from Invincible. Yeah, everyone loves Shusaku. This is another game against Ota Yuzo. You can see that Shusaku had been upgraded to 3 Dan, but of course that's still not his real strength, right? That's just the title he had at the time. This is the last handicap game in this book, and I think it's a really, really interesting game. I really like this game. So let's take a look at it. White actually plays an open corner for once instead of approaching the 4-4s. This is a bit more standard if you consider how we would play today. Black takes the other corner. So 2 choices now, right? In terms of basics, enclose or approach unfinished corners. White's going to do B because it's a handicap game, and he doesn't want to give black anything too secure. Black pincers very tightly. This pincer in particular was really popular at the time. Any of the 6 pincers would be completely fine, just different styles and ideas. This one puts the most pressure on the R5 stone. And so white's going to do something about that right away. And there's actually a bunch of different choices here, and plenty of joseki that variations that I don't even know. But here's like 4 basic ideas. In this case, what white does is he goes to settle in the corner, right? That's the most basic idea. When you're talking about a stone that needs help, even if you're not looking at a real board. Yeah, I'm talking. Everyone else can hear me, right? Okay, it looks like it's on Ruckus's end. Okay, it's fixed. Looks like you ranked up too. I thought you were 5Q. Congrats. So what Shy Ghost would say here is he would say, even if we don't see a real board and we're just talking to someone about Go, and you say, okay, I've got a weak stone, what do I do? Well, the first choice would be to settle in the corner, if that's possible. And that's what white goes ahead and does here. So what's the next move in this shape? This is an easy question, but okay, Q4. Right. This is pretty much the only move. A lot of times I see this from weaker players, but it's not really good because then black gets that tiger's mouth vital point and white shape isn't looking so good. P2, P3. Black extends. And now where's the vital point for white? S3. That's right. Make the shape nice and strong. Good. See, 12Q knows that that's the proper shape. This is very important here. And then Shusaku played here. Actually, nowadays, in general, there's 2 choices here. Nowadays, black would play 4th line to get more development potential, but more importantly, to put more pressure on these white stones. And it makes better use of the really tight pincer. And since black plays low, there's forcing moves that white can get to keep that low and to gain strength, and we'll see that in a little bit. But before we go on, I wanted to look at this move first. This was not a joseki possibility at the time. This game was played in 1842, by the way. They didn't really have this Atari as a choice, but nowadays this is a joseki option, right? So where does white play in this case? P3, R4, R4, P4. They just didn't really consider it a joseki. So what I mean by that is that if you look at 100 games, or 1,000 games with this shape from the Edo period, every single one, black's gonna play A, not Atari at R3. They didn't really think of it as being a good move. So R4 is actually not good, but that's why I wanted to look at this. Yeah, the rules were a little bit different back then. This move is not good because take a look at what white gets. He just gets this big giant dumpling of a shape, and black gets to play here. And now suddenly we have no idea what we're going to do with these stones. Also, just think about this. If I get rid of this R5 stone, it's almost like that stone's not really doing anything, right? We would rather put it somewhere else. Like maybe we can put it here, or there's got to be a better place for it. So let me get to the right diagram. So the idea is that you can't connect there. So you have to play the counter Atari. So who got that? Ruckus got that right. Good. So you give the one stone up, but then you get this Atari, and then, right, you get P4, and white's completely fine, right? Black has not done anything that white needs to be concerned about. This would be just fine. So back to the real game. Next, white plays a pretty interesting move. He plays right here, which may put some pressure on this A stone, and it also has a nice follow-up at B, which would be a two-space extension to get a base and also to approach that top right corner. So I think there's a pretty good lesson here. How should black be treating this A stone? Should we be helping that right away? Like, should we jump out? Should we make a base? Or should we do something else first? Anyone have an idea? So what's the counter pincer? I think you've got the right idea. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you got the right move too. Right. So let's take a look at what's happening here. The question you have to ask is how easy is it for white to attack the A stone? It's got an extension along the side. It can jump out. Let's also just, take a look at how wide this road is. It's not that easy to attack, and chances are, if your group or your stone is not that easy to attack, it's probably not the best idea to be defending it right now. So what black does is he plays a move that helps A while already securing some profit, right? The B move is practical. It's black's gaining something already, whereas jumping out with the A stone to C, for example, is not really worth any points. Does that make sense? Shigos calls this profit before running. The A stone has time, so we can take some profit first. And I mentioned that the B stone helps the A stone. How is that? Well, just in a general way of thinking about it, is that the B stone makes the C stone weaker. And if the C stone is weaker, that means that the A stone becomes a bit stronger. Hopefully that makes sense as well, because as long as the C stone's not that strong, it's not easy to attack the A stone. So that's pretty interesting there. White gets his group out. Right, there's still some possibility of pressuring this white group, so he's getting that group out. he's also, he's starting to draw a line maybe around that A stone. So now is the time that black actually needs to help that stone. And he does it by playing here, which is only a one space extension, right? So if we're just talking about an opening move, a one space extension is really not that interesting. But when we're talking about the base for both sides, A is the base for both sides, right? So if black gets it, black is the strong one. If white gets it, white's the strong one. So that's a really important move. So let's go back and look at another option. White has a more forceful way of playing here. I mentioned earlier that since black played low, there's some forcing moves here. So white can actually push. He's making this stronger, but it was strong anyway. And now he can play this. And this puts quite a lot more pressure on the A stone, actually. And if this were to happen, black would just get on with the opening, right? It's not time to do something with this A stone. Later, he would be able to, maybe use some Aji around B, use that A stone somehow. But for now, he would just move on to the biggest opening move. Could black ignore? Well, first, let's take a look right here. Can he ignore right now? In this case, no. Because those stones will die. So let's see what happens if you're saying if he ignores right now. Interesting. So let's take a look. If you play straightforward like this, it might seem like black is fine, and he is in that case, but the problem is white can actually cut first, and he can get this. And that's pretty bad for black, right? A is about to be sent A2. We've already pretty much wasted the M3 stone, so not likely that white can ignore that, or black can ignore that. So that would have been a different way of playing. White played less forcefully. Back to the real game, white has to get this stone out. And now our focus is going to be this group, right? So what do we do here? Oh9. Okay. Oh9. Oh8. Oh7. Connect underneath. Oh8. Oh, so we actually got 1, 2, 3 people. Oh, did I get all of your moves wrong? I think I misrepresented like all of your moves. Let's see here. So you had, oh good, yeah, you guys did really well. So actually A is the move. So let's talk about this a little bit because I think that this is interesting too, right? Why not just here? And this is sort of like a judgment thing. Essentially, black can go 2 spaces because white is 2 spaces away. If white was closer to black, black would not be trying to jump 2 spaces. And yeah, you guys are already hitting on the other feature of this move is that this one really gets out and breaks the line, right? So if we take a look at this sort of line, which is hard to draw, and we just jump here, all of a sudden, maybe not so comfortable, right? But if we can jump out like this, oh no, failed the tree again. How I made it 16 moves. Okay, this is different, right? Because now this is a bad shape for white over here. So I actually thought I was gonna make the whole game without messing up the tree this time, but no, that just made it worse. Um, right, so black plays there. White plays pretty much the standard move for handling this type of thing. The cap over the one stone. I know. I was actually talking to someone recently about messing up the tree thing, and I pretty much have a theory now that making it through the whole game without messing up the tree, it's like a noble goal, but I don't think it's something that is actually achievable in reality. It's just something to work towards. Um, so a lot of players will be worried about A in this type of thing, in this type of shape, the double peep, but that's an overplay, right? Oh, has he actually made it? I've never seen him make it. Okay. I could. See, I thought about just doing it like ahead of time, but then if I ask questions, you guys already know where the answers are. So yeah, I have like 80 tries, right? This book has like 80 games in it, so I've got like 75 more tries. Um, so Blackstone at A is fine. His B group is also fine. He starts looking at this white group, and says, that's not really two eyes yet. Also, the bottom is pretty developable. Let's take a look at this peep, though. Why is this unreasonable? I'm sure this happens in a lot of your games all the time, right? Black can play, or white can play pretty much normally up to here. And then Hilbert's got it. Okay, so R5, R14, and then what? S13. Good. So you guys know this cross-cut tessage. Um, so for the weaker players in the room, these two stones I marked are actually dead already. There's nothing black can do to save them because there's a connect and die that's going on. So no matter what black tries to do here, the two cutting stones are dead. So generally, before playing this type of peep, black needs another move, like around A or B. There's actually some other Aji too. There's like this placement right here that threatens to connect. And so if black, really tries to fight against that, it's not going to be good, right? There's all sorts of problems, and that's why it's an unreasonable move. So white should actually be defending his group at A. That would be Honte. That's like the real move, the proper move. But instead, he goes to approach the bottom left. This approach is pretty much a handicap type approach, right? A high. Honte just means like real move. Te in Japanese means hand or move. Yeah, so this would be proper for white. So what should black do then? Since white ignored, what should black do? S2. Oh, so commune is saying, what you're saying is it's only two handicap stones. Does white really need to play crazy? Or can't white just play normal? That's kind of what you're getting at? And I think that's reasonable. Like when I play like two stones or three stones, I just play normal and wait for things to even out. Um, but I don't know. I mean, he had played Shusaku a few times before. He probably knows that he's a strong opponent, and he knows that giving two stones is actually a really big deal to give Shusaku. So he felt like he needed to keep the pressure up. You guys got the answer right. White didn't play there, so black should take that away. Um, and now white shows the move that he's sort of depending on. He planned ahead of time that he's got this move, which is going to keep him out of trouble. It's still a little dicey, but let's take a look at it. Black blocks, white pulls back, black defends, white pulls back. So you can see here that there's still a cut left in black, and white's starting to get a bit of shape. How do we fix this cut with good shape? P10. Any better? Shoulder hit? Where's that? I think you've got it. P9 is too slow, unfortunately. It's solid, but slow. Right. This is a nice way of fixing this. It actually doesn't fix it as well as P9, right? I mean, there's still some Aji there, but it's good enough for now, and the shape is more efficient. Oh, okay. That's what you meant. Yeah, you said P10, which was that attachment. Okay, B play Q7. Here, right? Yeah, good timing. That's what I was just going to go back and take a look at. So the commentators for this, the professional commentators for this game were Ishida Yoshio and Segoe Kensaku. And what they said was if black plays here, white will attach here and leave this Hane at A as Aji for ladies later. So like for example, black extends, white comes out, and then they'll just keep playing, and eventually one day white might be able to do something like this, and the A stone actually can't be captured. So it would be another way of playing, and this attachment is probably what white would do to answer that. So now black has got stronger around this area. White actually goes to take care of these three stones. And he does that by giving up a stone here. This is common sacrifice technique, right? We make it a two-stone sacrifice so we can get more forcing moves. First we get this Atari, which is really nice. And then we get this for free as well. And white, very rapidly has a nice shape. And he continues to try and get that group down to the side, right? If you imagine a black move at A, it continues, to attack white. It's also very big for size. At this point, black is still looking at this A group, but he's not sure how he wants to attack it just yet. And there's a proverb that essentially says, in the opening, the big moves are bigger than vague attacks. And I don't think the attack against A is that vague, but still the big moves are really, really big. So black just plays the opening move for now. Um, White plays that same popular pincer, and also in this case, it makes an ideal relationship with his stone that is already there. It's 5 spaces high to low, so that's pretty nice. And now black never responded on his 4/4, so he goes ahead and does that now. Now notice he's thinking that if he plays here, this is probably better for white than getting that one stone in there and then playing here. Because now black already has a stone in there that he can work with. Also, if white plays here, this stone still has a lot of aji. For instance, if black has the ladder in this situation, black can wedge. And the ladder is this ladder, and it actually doesn't work right now. It runs into white stones, but obviously black's got all sorts of sente moves around here. So he's essentially what I'm trying to get at is that he's not worried about the A stone. That stone is okay for now. White attaches to come out, and also he's looking at this group on the right side. That group's definitely not alive, right? And in this situation here, we've got single stones touching. So my teacher, Mr. Yang's rule here is that if you're stronger, you should extend. If you're weaker in the area, you should hane. And in this case, black wants to extend to make the bottom nice and strong, also to leave as few forcing moves as possible for white. Now white plays a pretty great attacking move right here. You can see that if you're playing black, you're probably starting to feel some pressure. M6. Yeah, I think anything around that area that encloses... Oh, are you saying for white? Is white breaking the ladder? It could be, but I don't... I think if that's one of the reasons he's playing it, it's very low on the list. The main thing is to keep the bottom under control, and even more important than that is getting the B group out and trying to surround the C group. And this cap right here actually aims at something particular, which is this hane. Let me show that. Remember when black played here, I said it was the proper move, but it does leave some aji. White's looking at this type of thing. He's looking to get that hane in there. So black has to try and keep that strong. And now normally, since this is, one stone against one stone, white needs to respond locally. But the problem is this group needs to get out. So white plays here to try and keep his group out. He's also still looking at all of the aji in black shape. So black needs to keep that whole area strong. So he follows up against the move where white didn't play. White stone needs more liberties. He's getting a lot of influence towards the center as well. And now black plays here, which might look a little slow. We can actually see part of the meaning of this A move. Black actually can't come out because that's cut because of N7. So you can see sort of what white was trying to do there and what he was reading with that N7 move. Black has to play tight in this area. So that's why he plays like that. Um, White's group still needs to come out. We've still got two weak groups, and we want to be attacking the B group, so we lean against the strong group, right? He pushes here. White Hanes. And now black makes the first mistake in this game. So Ishida and Segoe didn't think that this was a good idea, making this exchange. They thought that black should just keep coming out and leave that sort of thing for later. And so let's see what happens here. It's actually pretty interesting. Black actually cuts here, and this is the real mistake. Obviously, white can capture that, but black has a plan here. He Ataris through from the other side to separate this group. See that? But the problem is, take a look at what white is getting. It's pretty insane thickness, right? Like, it's almost so good that it almost feels like even if A dies, white still has a chance in the game. And the problem is black can't even kill the A group, which makes things even worse. We'll see that in a little bit. Cut at L10. Yeah, but that's one stone fighting against a big white wall, right? That's something that white can handle. So let's see. The commentary here was that after making this exchange, black should just come out. And either of these ways would be better than the way black actually played in the game. And he should leave this B move as a threat rather than playing it right away. So let's see why that is. White cuts Incente, then he takes the thickness on the outside. Black starts to go for the eyes. But at this point, he realizes that he can't kill white. So let's see what he plays. First he plays this double Sente Atari. And then he plays here to solidify his own shape. And that allows white to live. And the idea here is that cutting doesn't make any sense if white's going to live, right? So essentially, white got all the thickness and he still lived, which means that the cutting moves of black were pretty meaningless. And so this is actually a really, really good result for white. So let's see what would happen if black wants to kill, he has to play here to make Q5 a false eye. White will play like this to get more liberties. White's got one eye now. He's about to get another one by playing at B. So black has to play there. But now white can Hane and cut. And this sort of shape has very few liberties, right? And so the commentary here was that black actually can't win this semi-eye. This is as far as they showed it. I don't actually know exactly how this would go. It looks really complicated to me, to be honest, but white's gonna win this fight. So that's why black had to live. So cutting wasn't so good. Black still has to live. This one threatens to connect underneath or make the eye. So black is fine. Now white gets to do all this. And the commentators said that this whole sequence here just added insult to injury. The result was already good for white, and now black's area on bottom is getting, flattened out and destroyed as well. Black gets this and Sente. White has to live. And now black plays here. So these are like two black stones in a sea of white, right? It looks pretty insane. Um, but that's exactly the sort of thing black needs to have a chance in this game. He has to do something pretty remarkable in order to be able to stay in this game. White plays super solid, not leaving any forcing moves for black. Now black tests the waters here, and white plays a very interesting response. Does anyone know this? This is kind of famous, actually. This is actually a trick play. It's not really a Joseki, it's actually a trick play. White has a good reason for playing it in this case. Let's take a look. If he plays normal Joseki, he's worried that this is just going to help black connect to those two stones over there. So he doesn't really want to play like that. So he plays here, which makes sense for the reason I just mentioned, but it also is actually a trick play. And let me show what black plays first. Black doesn't fall for the trick. He changes directions and gets this one stone while white gets these two. So let's take a look at what this trick is. This is actually an interesting trick. If black plays all the natural moves, the result is quite interesting. So everything here is just going to be natural for black, right? And block. When white cuts, these guys are in danger. So I need to Atari once. And then it looks like white can kill these 4 stones. And actually he can. But white pushes and cuts. And Ataris and forces. And forces again. Forces again. Okay, so at this point, these stones don't have a lot of liberties. So black can't play A or B. He has to go back and capture these or he's going to die. And so this is the trick. It's called the 19-point trick move because black gets 19 points in the corner, but white gets basically the best wall you're ever going to see in every single direction. So black can't play that way, right? That's just way, way too good for white. So even though all the moves are completely natural, it leads to a really bad result. So that's why black had to do something different. There's also another way of avoiding this one that I actually like. Yeah, I'm using this. Hilbert's gonna play this now. Okay, so that I may aid you, what you have to do, yeah, you do the 1 space low pincer, and then they have to play the knight's move, and then you play this. The way I like to, I've had someone play this against me too. Actually, Shy Ghost tried to play this against me once. I like this one. Defend here first. Then, white has to fix. And then you can play like that. So that's another good way of dealing with that trick. But this is all right as well. Everything's settled in the top left for now. So black starts running these stones out. And of course the game is still difficult for him. White wants to make sure that there's no connection underneath because he's about to play a forcing move here. But this is actually a really good chance for black, just the chance black actually needs. This move is not actually sente. So honte for white is here. Keep the shape strong, right? That's clearly the shape move. So when white does this, black ignores. And he gets to make nice shape for himself while forcing white into an ugly shape. So things are starting to look a bit up for him. White pokes here to see what black will do. And black responds here. This is pretty interesting. This one's not good. It looks like the natural move, but white will just get 2 peeps, and immediately black is way too heavy. So that's what he's trying to avoid. White's got to keep the area on top and also keep this group connected out. And black attaches. He wants to see what sort of aji there is between there. But at this point, white actually checks. He's testing black to see, well, how are you going to answer this after all, right? Any ideas here? There's a really cool tesuji here. I've seen this game a couple times, like 4 or 5 times, so now it doesn't seem as cool as before, but I remember when I first saw this, I just thought it was so awesome. R18, R18. So the move is actually S18. Honeyboo has seen it as well. So this move is really cool, right? When you have this type of strength, you can do cool stuff like this. So we'll see how that works in a bit. If black were to play here, this lives 2, but this is like a gote life. This one's a bit fancier, and it's sente, but it also means that white has forcing moves in the area, and he's going to make good use of those. We'll see that in a second. So now that he's seen how white has answered, how black has answered rather, white goes back and he plays kind of severely in this area. Let's see. Black is connecting his shape up. You'll notice that there's some aji at A, but what white really doesn't want to see happen is B connect to C. So white's got to play in between those groups for now. And now black plays here. And it would appear that the A group is going to be cut off, right? Kill the L8 group. That's actually pretty good, Kalen. You're seeing that that group is weak. And that's something that I didn't notice right away. This group does have some weakness, and we'll see that later. It's pretty interesting. So here, it looks like white is cut, but now he's going to use his sente moves. He plays here. Black has to push through. That's the meaning of this tesuji here. You can see how this tesuji is working here because now he's about to capture 1 stone. But this move is sente. So black has to finish up in the corner. He does it by playing here, and white gets to connect on underneath. So that was a pretty cool sequence, starting from here. White knew he had sente moves, and he used them very well. So he wasn't really worried about getting connected up. Black's A group is still weak and running, so he plays a running move. At this point, White's going to use this Aji stone. He extends. And the commentators said that this area, White played with superb style. This move, this cut, and this move. This move especially, it's very stylish. You would expect something like A, D14 first. Oh, you're right. Thank you. I thought something was funny there. Black actually does. Yeah, I was just wondering, well, what about that, right? Thanks for correcting me there. Black actually pulls back first, then the cut, and then this really stylish move. So it looks like Black has a choice, right? But the problem is he can't really play A because that's way too dangerous. It will put this entire group in jeopardy. So he's got to play this way and like this. Now his groups A and B are pretty much connected up for now, not completely, but you'll notice that White later can play at C, excuse me, and get a really nice capture there. So White played pretty well in that area. And now White notices what Kalen was talking about. This entire thing not looking so hot anymore, right? And White wants to be attacking. He's still got plans to attack, but in order to attack, we need to be strong. So first he plays this capture to put pressure on this cut and also to secure himself. Now if I were Black, I would probably play some sort of defensive move, but he doesn't. He plays one exchange here, that's guaranteed Sente, and then he just plays this really big move. So he's confident, I guess, about the weakish groups. But White's going to take that opportunity to attack. He gets a peep. Yeah, it's Shusaku. And now White starts pretty much an inevitable sequence here. It's pretty complicated looking, but there's essentially no choices for either side. Okay, so Black cannot save the A stone because then White will just play at B and White's all connected up. So that's not going to work. So Black has to squeeze. White can't connect at A because then Black would just capture at B. It's a really nice use of these dead Aji stones up there. So White has to capture. And he gets forced into a nasty shape, but let's take a look at what happened here. What did White accomplish? He cut these two groups off. There's two weak groups now, and White's going to try attacking them. And the B group in particular really needs help right away, so he plays here. He's got to make sure that he captures these two stones. So considering that Black defended the A group, it makes sense to attack the B group, right? The one that Black didn't defend. He starts by playing here because that's a spot where Black can get some eye shape, right? So let me just play some other move. Black's got this is Sente, and that would be Sente, and that's an eye. So that would pretty much be alive. So while this move looks slow, this is necessary to deny the eyes. So Black's got to help his group. and white's still looking at the two groups, and he descends here, which is a really interesting move. Essentially what he's trying to do is he's trying to make this into a one eye, like, you know, black, you can capture these three stones, but it's only going to be one eye, three stones. And this is where black finds his second brilliant Tessigi, and it's very similar to the first one in shape. So any guesses? Where does black play to live? C17, not quite. C18, right. Look familiar at all? Pretty similar, right? Really cool move. You can do this sort of thing when, you know, you're strong and clearly there's some liberty weaknesses in white. So let's see what actually happens here. White pushes and cuts for Aji, and now he's realizing, wow, you actually lived there somehow. So he actually goes away and attacks the other group for now. But let's take a look at what's actually happening here. If he captures and cuts, then there's a ko. And black just keeps using these stones that were essentially throwaway stones from earlier, right? They're creating a shortage of liberties again. So this would be a ko. And black has threats around this sort of area, so he's prepared to play the ko. If white extends, then black will pull back here and live pretty easily. Black's about to capture these two stones, so white has to capture. And that's Sente, and that's alive. Two eyes. Not only is this alive, white playing at A to capture the two stones isn't Sente. For example, if white plays here, white still can't remove an eye. And if that's not Sente, then white's group on the left side, that actually affects white's health quite a bit. So he decides that he can attack. And he comes to attack this one for now. Black defends like this, try to get as much shape as he can. White keeps going in and peeps. Before black connects, he's going to get a nice forcing move here. No choice. And that's just a, you know, Sente is not always good, but in this case, that's just a good exchange for black. The A stone may help black. The B stone's not really going to help white. White keeps attacking. And to me, this looks really, really bad. And so I was pretty surprised when, you know, the commentary says, with this move, black is alive. Isn't that kind of surprising? Black is alive. So let me click the move. I would die too. So let's see why it's alive. Actually, I can just do this exchange first. White actually plays here in the real game. So let's see. If white plays here, that's Sente. That's Sente. And that's two eyes. It's ugly, but it's two eyes exactly. And if black lives, he's alive. This might look like it removes an eye, but the problem is this is Sente. That's Atari. So that doesn't work. So after this, after that Kosumi, white actually realizes that black has lived. It's pretty surprising. So white connects like this, and black asks white a question. He says, are you going to let me capture these 2 stones, or are you going to run those 2 stones out and try to kill me? So this is kind of a well-timed probe, and white actually sees that he can't do that. So he doesn't run those stones out. He plays an attachment here. He's trying to get some Aji going around this cut, and he's also trying to do something about this other weakness he's got here. So let's take a look. What happens if white runs to try and keep the whole, the whole A group separated? Black is, obviously he's got to play here and then cut. White can Atari and Sente. He can then, oh, this Atari as well. And it looks like black got cut, but this peep is actually a really good move. It's hard to answer for white. For example, if you connect, black can just keep pushing, and there's very few liberties. The best move I could find for white was something like this, and then it's not so clear. But the problem is we still have the fight, the A group as well. So it's really, really dangerous for white. And so that's why white, it doesn't really make sense for him to run away with A. So that's why he plays this. He's trying to somehow forcibly fix those problems. Now black plays an interesting exchange here as well. We'll see in a second why this is useful. It's Sente because it's threatening to cut this whole thing. So white Ataris and connects. And let me try to explain a little bit why that's useful. If black doesn't do anything here, white can play here, and that makes AB Miai, which means white can capture 2 stones, which means the C group is fine, right? So black is saying, no connection home for that C group because he still thinks this thing has some weakness in it. So he does that, and then he responds, trying to play strong near white's weakness. And now white finally cuts here. This is actually quite interesting. This is white's only move. It seems like white can do this. And these stones are really short of liberties. But actually, after black plays here, there's no way that white can keep these stones. There's no way he can capture these stones. So you can go and try this out for yourself. I know I spent a little bit of time looking at all the different variations. There's no way white can capture there. So he plays here. Black extends, gets as many liberties as he can. White tries to keep black fenced in. Now this sequence is pretty much forced. White's trying to capture these stones. But now these stones need help, right? And now there's an important tessage that black has. D9. Oh, you're right. I missed another one. Honeyboo is really keeping me honest this time. You're right. It's so natural to pull these stones out as soon as they're in Atari, but black actually plays a really, really important probe here. This is actually really interesting, so thank you for correcting me on that. Let's take a look at this. White actually plays here, which probably looks really weird, This is it's really hard for white to play this way. If white plays like this, black will force, force, and then yeah, exactly. Suddenly he plays this awesome empty triangle, which saves those stones, kills the A stones, and the entire B group has to, connect in shame here at A. And then, black can still get on with his business over here. So that means that white actually has to play it this way to keep these stones dead, but it's just full of Aji. It's a really good probe by black, and we'll see that very soon. So this sequence is just the same as I was showing it. And now is the Tesuji problem. Black to link his stones up with his ones on the left. Where's the magic move? L1. Any other ideas? F2. F2 is part of it, but it's not the key move. You need something before you play F2. L1. So the move is actually here, right? This is Sente to kill, right? So white has to play here. And now this H1 makes, whose move was it? Makes Ruckus's F2 move strong because H1 is there. So let's see. This just gets squeezed very quickly. So that's like one of those magic first line moves. Even then, white can't play J1. Even when? Instead of H1, just F2. Okay, so you're going to make me actually have to figure this out. You could be right because, if black pushes, no, you might not be right though. The timing might be off in this case. Because how do we squeeze now? J1 is self-Atari. So that order is important. See that? No G1. What about G1? Oh, right, right, right. Yeah, I was just talking about if black tries to get this same move, that's not going to work. But let's see. This could. Hmm. Yeah, it looks like it's working to me. It's interesting. That'll be a homework problem for all of you and for me as well. So black connects up this way, which I think is the best style, even if other stuff works. But white got to live, right? At A. J1 for black. J1. Oh, are you like trying to kill white before you connect under? That's an interesting idea. So you want to kill white. And I think if you really want to kill white, you can. But I think Black's approach in the game is more reasonable. He wants to connect everything together. And also he's actually really still looking at this whole B group. So let's go forward a little bit and you'll see that. Um, so let's take a look here real quick. White goes to push, Black gets one forcing move in, and then connects underneath. White goes to Atari, and this move is when we can really see that Black doesn't care about these 4 stones. He doesn't care about these 6 stones. He's actually going for this whole thing. Um, it almost does die. So now suddenly this entire thing's been cut off, and Black's about to kill it in the next move. You guys see that, right? If Black plays B, it's dead. If Black plays C, it's dead. So White has to play here to barely live. Now he's ensured A is an I, and he can also get 1 at B or 1 at C. Meanwhile, Black's connected everything up. Let's see, can he still... No, can't really do J1, right? Because Atari Ascente. So White is alive on the bottom, but that's okay, because White resigns after Black's next move here. So remember, before the whole thing on bottom, Black played this probe, and that left all the bad Aji. And then during this whole thing, Black got strength right here, all in here, and White had to live. And now Black uses this Aji. So let's see what actually would happen here. If White goes to cut, Black will peep, and obviously this isn't going to work, right? You can't just let Black go home because White's whole group has only 1 eye, so that's dead. So White will have to try and kill Black's 2 stones like this. Where does Black play in this situation? C7. Yeah, the Hane Komi, the wedge here. It's a Hane and it's a wedge. And there's no answer, right? If White plays here, over. If White plays here, over. So upon seeing Black 206, this move, White resigned the game. And that was it. I thought this was the most interesting game so far. Pretty cool. Actually, it's probably worth going back and looking at this terrible result that Black got. And he fought back and won from this result. Yeah, this is game 5 from Invincible. It's the last handicap game. So the next game for next week is going to be against the same player, but Shusaku is going to be playing just on Black for the first time. Upper corners, yeah, the 2-2 Tesuji came up twice in this game and was pretty cool. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. We're getting a lot more viewers now, and that's cool. So I'll see you next time.